WPIAL 5A Big East Conference action starts here on the campus of Kiski Area High School in Leechburg, Pennsylvania, as we welcome you here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. Gateway and Kiski, both 1 and 2 on the season. Adam Gusky, Vince Russo on the call for you this evening for this WPIAL 5A Big East Conference matchup. Near sideline, the Kiski Cavaliers. Far sideline are the Gateway Gators. And Vince, as we take a look back to last week, the Gateway Gators, they were resilient and they were able to get the victory over Plum for their first victory of the season.
Yeah, Adam, good resiliency from the Gators last week. Fell behind, didn't blink, were able to get back into the game. Still some miscues towards the end of it, but ultimately a solid first win, a young team that we've talked about, and a chance to build on that moving forward here. And a road test against a Kiski Cavaliers team that's come up just short the last couple weeks after rallying from big-time deficits. So they're going to be really, really hungry to try to get back in the win column after 2 losses.
Looking forward to a good game here on homecoming night at the home of the Cavaliers. This our first trip here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. The last time I saw a game at Kiski, it was old Davis Field in Vandergrift, downtown Vandergrift, an old minor league baseball stadium that was also home of the Kiski Cavaliers.
Yeah, nice setup here. Some rolling fields behind us, tons of greenery. We'll see if there's some green space to work with for this Gators offense. They're going to have to score some points tonight. Kiski averaging 31 points a game offensively. That's one thing they've done really well thus far this season. The Cavaliers have is put points up on the board, but that defense allowing 24 on the other side. So there'll be some opportunities. Elvis Kuchakis back in the lineup for the Gators. Hopefully he's able to shake the rust off and make some big plays downfield. Sean Moorfield, a big game last week, over 150 yards receiving. See if they get him involved early.
Well, we will see the Gateway offense first, and like you said, it does appear that Elvis Kuchakis will be back in the lineup. Sid Bryant handled himself very well last week, but we saw through the first couple of weeks of the season, he's really well served as playing that outside linebacker position. He was a big threat there, especially in week 0 against State College.
The defense has been sharp for the Gators thus far this season, a unit that continues to grow. And these games will really start to tell us more about this Gators team after 2 really tough contests to start the year against 6A district champions in State College and North Allegheny.
Austin Beck will kick off for the Kiski Cavaliers. The arm is dropped and we are underway here in Leechburg, PA. Kick returned by S.J. Moorfield from the 6. Comes to the near sideline, finds a crease, carries it out towards the 35 as he tries to maintain his balance, but will be brought down. And believe it or not, it's Austin Beck down at the bottom of the pile with the tackle.
Love to see the kicker lay in the lumber. Coaches might not always agree, might not enjoy that. You want your specialist players out there healthy for the season, but Beck did a good enough job there, wrapping up Moorfield and hanging on for dear life until reinforcements came in for the Cavaliers. Good field position to start here for the Gators at the 34.
And we do confirm it is Elvis Kuchakis, the freshman, back in the lineup after missing the end of the game against North Allegheny and then the entirety of last week's game against the Plum Mustangs. Ball's on the right hash. Play action, toss left, complete to Moorfield. Steps out across the line of scrimmage, picks up just a couple while he is brought down by Avon Shirley, the 6'1 junior.
Good form tackle by Shirley there in open space, and talked about if they'll get Moorfield involved. How about 2 touches in the first 2 plays of the game, including the first play from scrimmage there with a quick 2-yard reception.
First look was a pistol, now they'll set Gans to the right of Kuchakis, option right. Pitch, Gans, he's got some space. He's into Cavalier territory to the 40, tries to cut it back, and he'll be slid out of bounds, but not before picking up big yardage. Tegan Shirley on the tackle for the Cavaliers, but it's first down for Gateway at the 31-yard line.
Gans starting to get into a rhythm as the season progresses. Couple scores, 67 yards rushing last week, and gets a big chunk towards that, beating that total this week with a big run down the sidelines there on first down.
Handoff this time, Gans bouncing it left, driving his way forward down towards the 25-yard line before he is finally brought down. Gain of 5, 2nd and 5.
Good little jump cut there to create a little bit of space, and then I love how he puts his head down, initiates contact, and falls forward. You always love when running backs are falling forward, getting a couple extra yards at the end.
Kuchakis pulls it out of the belly of Gans, runs left, slides down, and they say he starts the slide at the 22. So it'll bring up 3rd down and 1.
Down near the first down marker.
Yeah.
It's a great call by that official on the far side. That's exactly where he started to slide down. So it's 3rd and about 2, actually. Handoff Gans. He's got the first down and more inside of the 20. So the Gators into the red zone. And he is brought down at around the 16-yard line as the tackle's made by Clifton Peterson.
You see another look at it here. It's so nice when you can go to the ground and pick up chunk yards, even if it's not a big play. Just keeping yourself on schedule. We talk so much about that, turning 2nd and 3rd downs into manageable situations, which also keeps the defense on their heels. You can go pass, you can go run, opens up that playbook a little bit, keeps you from becoming one-dimensional.
Twins to either side. Kuchakis with Gans to his left. Handoff Gans. Dances left. He's into open territory and into the end zone. He will go for a 16-yard gateway touchdown. Huge hole on that left side and a TD for the Gators.
What a better way to get your freshman quarterback back into the lineup. One quick pitch and catch out to Moorfield. Otherwise, they were able to do everything on the ground, as you see again. Gans just running over and past everyone on the way to the end zone there. That's about as picture perfect of a first drive as you could ask for the Gators.
Lococo on to attempt the PAT. Kuchakis the holder. Hold down, kick up, and that PAT is good. And just over 2 minutes in, the Gators on top 7-0.
Good job by Kuchakis there. A bit of a high snap. Was able to grab that one, bring it down quickly, and then Lococo able to nail that one on to complete the drive. Momentum in the hands of the Gators here early. And yeah, you talk about Kuchakis jumping back into the lineup. Not asking too much of him there on that first drive. We've been waiting to see if this Gators offense would be able to control the line of scrimmage. Brought all of their offensive linemen back from last season. They have a ton of depth. That's one thing this team talked about being a real strength as you take a look at that touchdown run again from Gans. And he did a lot of that work himself on that one. Certainly there were some holes there throughout that drive, but Gans also doing a good job making people miss, and a good combination of size and speed from Gans. We saw a lot of that shiftiness from Jaquan Reynolds, and Reynolds' ability so good at catching the ball out of the backfield. Gans a little bit bigger, stockier of a back, and showing it there, putting the head down and getting through people on the way to the end zone.
Lococo set to kick for Gateway.
So Lococo's kick, end over end, carries inside of the 20, where it will be returned by the Cavaliers. That is Avon Shirley, and Shirley out towards the 30 before he is brought down. Host of Gators in the vicinity on that tackle on Shirley.
So get a first look at this Cavaliers offense that can put up points, but has struggled to do so early in games. Has had to come from behind a number of times, and they've got a lot of folks with experience, including quarterback Carson Henley, a senior, 3rd year as a starter, put up 1,800 yards, 19 touchdowns last year, off to a solid start this year.
To the ground goes the quarterback for Kiski. And Heinley is brought down after a gain of about 1. Down at the bottom of the pile, Elijah Fisher for the Gators.
Certainly is a wrinkle in his game. 99 yards rushing through 3 games here on the early season. You see the fake handoff there to Landon Kusick. We'll see him tote the ball, I'm sure, a ton of times. 6 touchdowns already this season, including 4 in a season opening win, the lone win for the Cavaliers against the Knock Knights a couple weeks ago.
Heinley looking left, throwing left. The pass is complete. Running down the near sideline is Finney, and Finney's finally going to be brought down inside of Gators territory by Tristan Houston, but a big pickup there for the Cavaliers.
See, nice ball there, puts it on the outside shoulder, and then just a poor job. I believe that was Gans at the DB position, and over pursuing, not making the tackle. Even Tristan Houston having to whiff on the first go-round, come back around, make that tackle a second time. They could have limited the damage. Instead, Cavaliers were able to flip the field, get into enemy territory after just 2 plays.
Heinley all kinds of time as he looks right now, comes back left, does the southpaw, tosses down the near sideline, and the pass is incomplete as he was looking for Shirley, and on the coverage, Carlos Diggs.
Diggs with him step for step, solid coverage there. Henley overthrew that one a little bit. If he really would have put that on a dime, receiver probably would have had a chance, and this is certainly a talented receiving core. There's a few different options that Henley will go to throughout the evening. That time, just a little too much mustard on that one.
2nd and 10.
So 2nd and 10 for the Cavaliers with the ball at the 41-yard line. Henley under center this time. Here they come on the end around. The ball is down on the turf, and it is scooped up by the Gators. Gateway scooping it up. It's Roberson Louise June with the scoop. Looking for the score was the big guy, but he's brought down after a modest gain.
Boy, did the Gators read that one perfectly. Take another look at it. They were not faked out at all by that reverse pitch up the middle. Omari Gans is the one who laid the boom, knocks the ball loose, and then Roberson Louise June right there, ready, picks up the ball, able to get a few steps in, gets that ball out towards midfield, and so the Gators, with the early lead, take over out towards midfield, the chance to really grab the momentum in this game by a chokehold.
Gateway using a timeout here. And I wonder if the issue here is, do they use the timeout to get Roberson Louise June back into the lineup? Because he's such a pivotal player on both sides of the ball. I don't know if it's necessarily offensive confusion, but it could, quite frankly, just be a scenario where they want to get Louise June back into the lineup, and the timeout allows him to do that since he lost his helmet on the fumble recovery.
And you hate to use a timeout just 3 minutes and 45 seconds in, but if it means that you've got all of your ducks perfectly in a row, I don't mind it in this case. You've got all the momentum, an early 7-0 lead. You're controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Here we see Brady Tobin taking a few snaps, getting ready to. Julius Clark, sorry, I'm reading the wrong side of our roster there. The freshman getting a few practice snaps in before heading out onto the field.
Julius Clark, 5'6", 205 pounds, and he is going to line up at center right now. The freshman who was playing on that 8th grade team with Elvis Kachakis a year ago.
And I mean this in the nicest way possible. He looks like an 8th grader next to some of those big guys the Gators have down in the trenches.
Snap a little slow, but true. A flag came in, and this may have actually been a false snap as it looked like the ball moved, then moved again.
That's when you just pat the freshman on the head, tell him to take a deep breath. Got the momentum, just focus on getting that snap timed right, live for another down.
Last week we saw Carter Rathfon at center, the sophomore who played a significant amount in the weeks before as well. Slow snap this time by Clark. Toss to the right. Now it's going to be S.J. Moorfield tossing it down the field, leaping up, pulling it in for the Gators. It's Jaden Stammer, and Stammer is wrestled to the turf inside of the 30 at the 28-yard line. So a big pickup there on the trick play by the Gators as it goes Kachakis to Moorfield to Stammer.
And big ups to Stammer there. That whole play was frankly a little ugly. The snap low, Kachakis gets that out late, and then Moorfield just has to let that one fly into double coverage. But Stammer made sure that he was going to go up, high point that ball, bring it down aggressively. Big time play by the receiver.
Louise June back in at center for the Gators. So I think maybe that helmet issue was more than just it came off in the midst of a play. That could have been something where chin strap was broken, he needed a new one, whatever the case may be. But he is back in there at the center spot for Gateway. So a lot of pressure on Julius Clark. Just 14 and a half years old, whatever the case may be. Out there as a freshman at just 5'6", 205, getting some varsity minutes in a conference game.
Yeah, that's one thing we really haven't talked about. This is sort of the clean slate for both teams, entering 1 and 2 into the contest, but these are the games that really matter, and I'm sure we'll talk about more as the night goes on. 5A, once again, talked about as probably the most deep, talented, and competitive classification within the WPIAL, so every game matters that much more. You've got an expanded playoff, so these teams have aspirations, and looks like Louise June trotting over to the sidelines again. Maybe a continuation of the equipment issue.
Yeah, he went over to the sideline, takes off his helmet, and is over there with the Gators bench. Now, there was an issue with the sticks, as we saw here, and that seems to have been remedied. Louis June back on the sideline, so back in comes the freshman Julius Clark.
First and 10, Gateway from the 28.
Motion man, S.J. Moorfield. Little spin out by Kachakis, looking right, and again he finds Stammer. Stammer catches it and steps out of bounds unscathed at the 16. So the Gators with a first and 10 in the red zone.
Wow, take another look. Great play design. Double fake. Good ball. And then a little fast there, but Stammer, great job getting those feet in. I think he got both of them in. That would have been a catch on Saturday and Sunday. That was a really beautiful grab by number 8 along the sidelines.
This time to the ground, it's Gans bouncing left, cutting it back right, driving his way inside of the 10. Ball came loose, but the officials say that Gans was down. Now, there was a situation last week where Gans was driving the pile. Looked like he was down, but the officials that were a lot closer than we were said he wasn't, and the ball squirted loose, and Plum ended up recovering that one. This time, not the case, so Gateway has it second down and about 3 at the 9. Handoff, Gans dancing right, cutting back left, inside of the 5, first and goal. Gators pushing the pile, but they can't get him past the goal line. It'll just be first and goal at the 3.
Good patience by Gans there. You'll see here, trots over to the right, lets the hole develop, then just puts his head down and held on to the ball that time. That's one thing, talking about the last play. Sometimes you got to sacrifice a few yards, keep that ball security. You don't want to push the envelope too much, especially if folks know you're going to fumble, they're going to punch at it.
Handoff, Gans into the end zone for a Gateway touchdown, and the Gators are on top 13-0 with 6:24 to play first quarter.
2 scores after 48 minutes of action last week, 2 scores in less than 6 minutes this week. It is all Gators rolling, and this is a sight for sore eyes. If you're a Gateway fan, first 3 weeks of the season, tough sledding, you face 2 really tough 6A opponents, you got a young team. This feels like one of those games, if they can continue to play at this level for 48 minutes, it could be a real big confidence booster for a young team that has playoff aspirations and wants to compete in a loaded 5A.
So Mark Knight, who has returned to the lineup, thankfully for Gateway, because that's a big boost on the defensive side for Gateway to have him back as one of the linebackers. So I think his helmet may have been a jar of some kind, at least, as that up and in for Lococo, and Gateway steps on top 14-0 on this beautiful night here in southwestern Pennsylvania. It's 83 degrees, but I'll tell you what, Vince, it's very comfortable out there. Beautiful breeze. I don't think you can ask for much better on September 13th.
Yeah, this is excellent. Great football weather. No chance of rain after talking to some of our crew earlier last week, getting rained on in the elements. This week not having to deal with that. And take another look at Gans scampering into the issue. Great start for the Gators. Picture perfect in a rivalry that the Gators have traditionally owned. A 15-4 series lead all time against the Cavaliers, who haven't beat the Gators since 2001. And boy, you want to drive home your dominance in a series. Coming out and laying 14 on the road here early in the first quarter is a great way to set the tone and make them think this is sort of a here we go again kind of thing. Don't give them any room to breathe.
Set the kick for the Gators.
So Lococo will kick off here as Gateway receives a sideline warning. Certainly from our vantage point, looks like the Gators are well back, but an official over on that far side may have bumped into a coach or whatever the case may be. So we'll see Lococo kick off. The Gators on top by 14 on 2 Amari Gans touchdowns. And as on the return again is Shirley. Shirley coming near side. Slides past one Gator but cannot get past Carlos Diggs,
Shirley on the return,
who makes the stop for the Gators, and down around the ankles it was Tyree Gowder.
Well, Diggs did exactly what you want. You see he doesn't try to pursue the runner inside. He waits for that runner to get out toward the sideline. So much of being a good kick coverage unit is sort of knowing your lane on the field and sometimes waiting for that return man to come to you, not being overzealous, and even if it means giving up a few more yards, not over pursuing so that there's nowhere for that person to go along the sidelines.
Finally a QB. He'll send a fullback to his right. Long handoff as Amari Gans is in the backfield as the handoff is given off to his number mate, Landon Cusick.
You wonder how heavily Cusick and company will be able to rely on the run. I appreciate them keeping the defense honest, handing it off here in first down. Just only 6 minutes into the game. You don't need to get in panic mode, but being down a couple scores, you might have the tendency to want to sling that ball a little bit, and certainly there's some talented receivers, including Andrew Finney. 7 grabs, 121 yards and a touchdown on the season. Tegan Shirley, 458 and a touchdown. They got some options.
Heinle pressured. He slides out of that pressure initially. Now he'll step forward, but has nowhere to go. Is cleaning it up is K&M Bandy, the 6'3", 270-pound junior D lineman.
This game is just being decided totally in the trenches right now, and the Gators are just completely owning the line of scrimmage offensively, able to move people off the ball, run the ball effectively. Kuchakis has had time to throw on the other side. It's been the complete opposite story for the Cavaliers. No running room. Henley's had to scramble and fight for his life, and they're just got away from 2 Gators but couldn't get away from the 3rd.
And the first Gator there was Mark Knight. Boy, it's great to see him back here at that linebacker spot for the Gators. As Heinle goes to the air. Backing up for the Gators was Jaden Stammer. He tried to retreat and scoop that one in for a gateway takeaway to no avail. So it will just be 4th down and 14 after that incomplete pass. And here comes the punt unit for the Kiski Cavaliers.
You start to talk about guys like Jackson Smith, Mark Knight, Sid Bryant, and you start to consider this linebacking core for the Gators as maybe one of the best in the region. I mean, 3 guys that just love to lay the lumber. They're quick, they're athletic, they're strong. They're just everything you want, the complete package for high school linebackers.
And every single one of them is somewhere between like 6'3" and 6'1" and 6'3". They all weigh around 200 pounds. They are just big guys who can get it done at that linebacker position. As that punt bounces to the boundary, and Austin Beck's punt will set the Gators up at the 46-yard line, and that's certainly not what the Cavaliers wanted to do there.
No, things going from bad to worse for the Cavaliers as the Gators just have all the momentum in this game, and now the ball at midfield again with a chance to really lay it on here. Go up by 3 scores by the end of the first quarter, and certainly not a foregone conclusion. The Cavaliers have battled back from deficits already 2 different times, even though they weren't able to finish the job against Hempfield and Norwin. Were able to come all the way back from double-digit.
Little hitch, then a toss by Kuchakis, looking down that far sideline for Jaden Stammer. Stammer had a Cavalier in his hip pocket. The incomplete pass brings up 2nd and 10.
So yeah, Cavaliers
Kuchakis pass incomplete.
come back from a couple double-digit deficits, trying to keep this one from ballooning that way further than it already is. And that time, a step on the defender, a little bit of grabbing there, but that ball a little bit overthrown. Good no call there.
S.J. Moorfield in motion, takes the end around. Gans trying to set the corner on the block as S.J. is hit and brought down in the backfield as Cusick makes the tackle.
This feels like a big series for the Cavaliers, and so far so good. 2 really good defensive plays. We're able to force an overthrow and an incompletion on 1st down, and 2nd down, driving the runner back, not falling asleep at the wheel and getting lulled in by the jet sweep. Now you got a chance to try and get your defense off the field, get this offense in rhythm a little bit more, and more importantly, get this Cavaliers defense a little bit of a break.
Kuchakis with some time initially, flush to the left. He's going to tuck, he's going to run. He's getting close to that 1st down marker as he steps out of bounds at around the 45-yard line. So it's decision time for Don Hall here as Kuchakis ends up stepping out of bounds, they say, at the 47. So it brings up 4th and 3, and looks like the offense is staying out there.
I like it, Adam. Give all the momentum. You've been running the ball really well. Trust your guys to go out and make a play. Maybe put this in Kuchakis' hands again. He's done a good job pulling that ball down and running if he needs to.
4th and 3 from the 47.
Feet pounding on the near side, but a timeout called from the sideline on the near side as Sam Albert, the head coach of Kiski, needs to have a conversation with his defensive squad.
Yeah, Sam Albert, he's coached all up and down the Kiski Valley. Now the head man here at Kiski, but has been at Highlands, Valley, Butler, and Freeport. And so for folks in the AK Valley, it's just up and down 28, really. And so guided the Cavaliers to the 4A playoffs last season. They had a winning streak down the stretch to get themselves into the postseason. Got bounced by a always tough Thomas Jefferson team in the first round of the postseason, but they certainly have aspirations, and they talked about having a chip on their shoulder. A lot of publications talking about them being last in the Big East, and Cusick, the running back, was quoted as saying that they've noticed that. It's been a bit of motivation for them, but can they translate that into results on the field? Early here, it's been all Gators.
Gans motions to an empty set. Forward pitch, Gans catches it, Gateway first down. What a nice play there. Kachakis and Gans executed perfectly.
Yeah, Kachakis rolling, freezes that defense, because you just got burnt by Kachakis on 3rd and long to set up this 4th and 3. You're ready for him to pull that ball down and run with it. Then at the last moment, he's able to flick that one out. Great execution by the Gators. They continue to keep the offense on the field with a chance to really blow this one wide open.
And that first down really kind of presses the reset button on this drive for the Gateway offense. Elvis Kachakis in the shotgun with Gans to his right. Toss to the near side right. A lobber to Moorfield, and SJ turns the corner and turns on the Jets. Inside of the 30, picks up a blocker, and he's brought down inside of the 25 at around the 23 or 24 yard line. Carter Brown on the tackle.
Well, I don't know how he got out of this. It was 3 on 2. He had one blocker there, and you see a massive blue jerseys, and just was able to keep his footing, and some bad angles by the defensive backs for Kiski opened up the floodgates for the Gators.
And now a sideline warning for the Kiski Cavaliers.
Sideline warning on the Cavaliers.
So both teams have received sideline warnings. Gateway has it 1st and 10 at the 23. Clock winding, latter stages of the first quarter. Low snap, scooped up by Kachakis, broken play, but he tries to make something out of it. Slides down in front of Carter Brown. And Kachakis looks like he may have tweaked an ankle or something. That's not good for the Gators.
No, not at all. Let's take another look. Maybe there that left ankle at the end of the play did fall a little awkwardly, and that's exactly what he's grabbing at. And that is a real tough break. Missed last week's contest. Back into the lineup. Really looking good here in the early going, but you know, Adam, at the end of the day, sometimes your best trait is availability, and early in the season for Kachakis, it's been a struggle to stay on the field, assuming that he might miss a little bit of time here as he needs tended to. But I mean, in your back pocket, you're up 14-0, and you got Sid Bryant, who played really well last week, 15 of 22, over 200 yards passing, a touchdown to Moorfield.
It looks like that left leg did get kind of caught up as he was sliding down. That's an issue that you face with the artificial turf while wearing cleats, and it's a double-edged sword. You like to get a little bit more grip with the cleats, but on the other hand, you get the grip when you don't necessarily want it.
And almost every team in the region has artificial turf now, and so that, as it's maybe not affectionately referred to, but the turf monster will come up and get you every now and again. And you just hope for Kachakis' sake that maybe he rolled it and it's a little uncomfortable, but they're able to tape him up and he's able to get back out there with it without too much uncomfortability.
Fingers crossed for the freshman as we take a look at the Big East Conference, and the little lifter for everybody in the Big East Conference. Latrobe, Armstrong, Franklin, Penn Trafford, Gateway and Kiski here tonight, and Woodland Hills. And Latrobe right now 3-0. They're making some noise in the non-conference slate. Armstrong, Franklin Regional, and Penn Trafford all with 2 wins thus far this season. And Gateway, Kiski, and Woodland Hills all with 2 losses thus far, as Kachakis is being helped to the sideline with 0 weight on that left ankle.
That's a real shame for the Gators, and obviously a real shame for the freshman who, when he has been available, has shown some real flashes of being your guy for the future, but got to be able to stay out there on the field. What seemed like such an innocuous play, and certainly a broken play, which is where injuries happen from time to time, but there's nothing worse in football than non-contact injuries, which is what that was.
And really, you really said it well there. The thing that stings the most is it's a non-contact injury. It was basically his foot getting caught in the turf as he was trying to slide down in front of a defender. So now the weight is on the shoulders of Sid Bryant for Gateway.
The one thing that's real good at him, they've been able to run the ball effectively, and not surprised that they'll lean on Gans here.
Handoff goes to Gans. He tries to bounce it left, brought down near the line of scrimmage as the flag is down.
Brought down by Tegan Shirley.
Preliminary call holding against Gateway.
Clifton Peterson.
And that's going to go against Mark Knight, who's lined up at the tight end spot on the left-hand side of that offense. Knight inserted as Casey Carter has played exceptionally well at the tight end spot in the absence of Knight thus far this season.
And hopefully they still find ways to get Carter involved. We saw how dynamic he was with those 2 touchdown receptions against State College in week 0, including breaking one for big-time yards after the catch.
2nd and 10. Straight up the middle goes Gans. Tries to slide out of a tackle, spinning his way forward, but cannot. Good strength down there at the bottom of the pile for the Cavaliers. So Gans only able to cut that penalty loss in about half.
Down again by Tegan Shirley.
As the tackle was made by Tegan Shirley, the 6'2 sophomore.
Well, this is certainly 4-down territory for the Gators. So you approach this 3rd down, while it is 15 yards, you don't have to chuck this deep. You don't have to try and go to the end zone here. Try and get yourself in a position where you're at 4th and manageable, or maybe even consider trotting Lococo out there.
Gateway motions to empty set. Sid Bryant steps to his right. Steps up, picks up a block, and he'll be pushed out of bounds at around the 21-yard line.
Forced out of bounds by
I appreciate Bryant
Peterson.
keeping his eyes downfield, but I think if he cuts that one inside towards the hashes, he probably picks up a great deal of yardage. Kiski was laying off big time in coverage, and might not be able to see it here, but if he cuts that to the left, he's got a block, and he's got quite a good bit of space. As it stands, a nice gain of 6, but could have been a lot more.
So Mark Knight returns to the lineup as to the sideline goes Julian Dancier. Still a decent amount of time on the play clock. Gans motions out of a back to an empty set. Knight steps up, or excuse me, that is Sid Bryant stepping up. He's inside of the 10 where he is down, and Gateway has 1st and goal at the 9. Wow.
He cut it inside that time, Adam. You see at the end of the play, able to get an extra chunk of yards. Good vision, good way to sidestep a few would-be tacklers, and then just a great job taking that ball himself. You see the nice block there by Moorfield, just throwing himself at a DB, getting in the way, open up that much more room for Bryant.
And again, Gateway going to the ground with Sid Bryant running to the right, gets back to the line of scrimmage and no further, and it's 2nd and goal from the 9.
Bryant on the keeper.
Nothing going there, but
Brought down by Kusick.
don't mind the Gators sticking with the run one bit. They have been moving bodies all throughout this game thus far, controlling the line of scrimmage. And again, you look at this as 4-down territory. So you got 4 opportunities to get about 10 yards. I like the Gators' odds when it comes to how they've been playing in this one thus far.
Second and goal is Bryant in the shotgun, hands off Gans. Looked to bounce it left, but he is met in the backfield and now will be swallowed up by the second wave of tacklers. And there's Braden Anderson, amongst others, is in there on the tackle.
Good push here by Kiski, trying to force the Gators to keep this a 2-possession game, or perhaps a field goal attempt if they feel like they're close enough to trot Lococo out there.
Brings up 3rd down.
So 3rd and goal from the 12 now.
Let's see if they even snap it here. I don't think they will. They've got the play clock well past the game clock.
I think this is a smart decision to allow the quarter to expire and go into this third and goal with some time to talk about it.
Yeah, a de facto extra time out there. Good call by head coach Don Hall. And all things coming up Gators outside of Elvis Kuchakis going down. That's really the one asterisk, and boy, is it a big one, Adam, with how well he had played in the early going of this one. They hadn't asked him to do a bunch with his arm, but a couple good balls out towards the sidelines on some design screens, and certainly able to pull the ball down and make some things happen with his legs. And he just gives you that aura of a guy who, even as a freshman, feels comfortable out there, has the respect of his teammates, and is someone that is primed to develop into the quarterback you want to take this team where it wants to go. But certainly really, really frustrating to see him exit a second game with an injury.
So as we get set for the second quarter on this beautiful evening in Leechburg, Pennsylvania, temperature has dipped down below 80 and is now 79 degrees. Look at that low humidity down in the lower 40s as the sun has just set here in southwestern PA. And boy, is it a picture-perfect night for high school football.
We were talking off air, cameraman extraordinaire Dale Breakall talking about being down in Naples, and I had the pleasure of being down in Key West a little earlier this year, but that humidity gets to you, and it might not be as warm and as sunny right here in western Pennsylvania, but boy, is it a beautiful night, and not a whole lot of humidity, nice breeze rolling through.
Sid Bryant on third and goal. Steps up, tosses. Amari Gans leaps up, catches it, and crosses the goal line for a gateway touchdown in front of Clifton Peterson.
Easy pitch and catch. Nice route by Gans. Just sort of plants his feet there and cuts right across the linebacker's face there. That linebacker can't let him get through that easy. And just an easy catch there in the end zone for Gans. And that was his third score in 12 minutes and 4 seconds of action. Boy, is he having himself a night. And with the quarterback injury, that's super important to make sure that this Gateway offense can continue to roll here.
Sid Bryant runs back out as the holder takes the snap, kick up, and that kick is good, at least for the moment. We may have had some movement from that Gateway front, so we'll have to see what the call is from our officials. So it's false start against Gateway. That's going to push Gateway back a handful of yards and a little bit of a longer kick for James Lococo. I think that issue could have stemmed from the fact that everybody was kind of set and then Sid Bryant ran on. So you get a circumstance where you're set and then you're set longer than you anticipate.
Ball spotted at the 8.
So this a little bit of a longer PAT for Lococo from the 17. It'll snap a little high. Lococo is able to get it up, split the uprights with plenty of distance, and 4 seconds into the second quarter, Gateway's on top of the Kiski Cavaliers by a score of 21-0.
Lococo not phased, able to knock that one through with plenty to spare.
As we look over to the far sideline, we still see the athletic training staff tending to Elvis Kuchakis. He is on the right side of the bench, and you can actually see some medical staff from the near side, from the Cavalier sideline, going over there to check on the freshman QB. We're going to look at that left ankle. You don't like to see this type of circumstance. Regardless of the players, you can actually see some sort of orange inflated boot on that left leg, and that certainly doesn't equal good things, especially with having your starting quarterback who's just a freshman missing time last week and now back out of the lineup for an undetermined period of time. And this may look a little bit more serious than the short-term knee injury that he sustained against North Allegheny. This kick carries inside of the 5 to the 4 by number 4, Andrew Finney on the return, trying to cut it left, and coming out of nowhere is Carlos Diggs. He explodes through and makes the tackle.
Yeah, Diggs wanted all of that action, and he got in there, lowered the helmet, laid the boom, Nice coverage and a great kick by Lococo. Let's not overlook that. His first couple landed around the 20. That time sent that one. Maybe they should have him kick those PATs a little further back. He could have, we're all the way up just past Allegheny County here in Westmoreland. I think he could have made that from, let's say, Washington, PA.
I like the hyperbole. So again, about 10 seconds into the second quarter, Cavaliers set up in the pistol at their own 17-yard line with Heinle, the QB. Looks left, or right rather, the whole way, throws to the right-hand side where the pass is completed to Andrew Finney and an open field tackle by Casey Carter.
Another good ball out there in the flat by the signal caller, Henley. You can tell there's some real chemistry there as he's able to put that one right into the outstretched arms of the intended target.
10-yard gain. And a Kiski Area. First down.
First and 10 for the Cavaliers at the 17, or 27 rather, after the 10-yard gain. Heinle under center. Play action, looks left the whole way, does the southpaw. And the pass is in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, Andrew Finney. Finney had found himself in between two Gator defenders. And I'm not sure if Gans got a hand on it or if it was just enough with the hand going up to distract Finney. I think that was the case, and Finney just couldn't hang on.
Yeah, that one looked like it got through clean and just a plain old drop, and one that would have likely been another first down for the Cavaliers, and that's worth its weight in gold for an offense that's really struggled here in the early going and trying to just cobble together some momentum and to put some points on the board, already down 21. And again, more importantly, keep that defense off the field. Let them get a little rest.
Hand off and to the ground go the Cavaliers. Running to the right, Landon Cusick, and he's strung to the boundary as again it's Carter on the tackle.
That'll be frustrating for Cusick, who put 15 pounds of muscle on, went from 185 to 200 in the offseason. Really prides himself on the physicality that he brings. Considers himself a hybrid running back, not afraid to run through people, even though he acknowledges sometimes it's a little easier to go around. That time, just nowhere to go. The Gators have swarmed him every time he's had the ball.
Heinle in the shotgun. Looks left the whole way. Steps up as Knight was in the pressure. Gans stepping out on Heinle as he'll step to that far boundary. And he was dancing his way down the sideline, but did not pick up the first down as he steps out at around the 36. The line to gain was the 37, and it's 4th and 1.
Big time decision-making time here. Thought that he might pull that ball back. He had a receiver in the middle of the field. It was Cusick, who sort of bled out of the backfield and was throwing his arms up, asking for the ball, and he might have had enough to get it on his own. I don't know, if you're Kiski, man, you're down 21 here. It's sort of a double-edged sword. You get it, you keep your offense on the field, you build some momentum, maybe you put some points on the board, but boy, if you turn this one over, this could get ugly real quick if the Gators take over inside the 35.
Sam Elbert takes a timeout to talk strategy with that Cavaliers offense here on 4th and 1 from their own 36-yard line.
And what you don't want to see here, what I see coaches do sometimes, is laying up and then do a fake punt. If you're going to go for it with the guys that you intentionally want to advance the ball. Send your offense out there, believe in your guys and their ability to pick up a yard. But it's tough. You have not been able to run the ball. You've not been able to control the line of scrimmage. And so what do you do here on 4th and 1? Do you trust Cusick, your senior running back, who's been solid but hasn't gotten any footing in this game? Or do you air it out? Or do you put it in the hands of the quarterback and hope that he can make some more magic with his legs after getting it to this point, a 4th and 1 situation off of a run?
Heinle in the shotgun. High snap, he bobbles it. The Gators are all over him as he's flushed to the left. He's wrapped and he's brought down. Turnover on downs. And that one blows up in the Cavaliers' faces as the Gators will get the football deep inside of Cavaliers territory, inside of the 35 at around the 33. And look at that. There was every white jersey in the vicinity over there on top of Hindley, the QB.
I don't think, we talked about hyperbole. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that this, thus far to this point in the game, has been just a complete performance by the Gators in all three phases of the game. Certainly, I think the defense might take the cake out of all three. They have just been relentless, they have been dynamic, and they have not allowed anything to materialize for the Cavaliers. And now they've set the offense up on a golden platter here with the ball inside the 35.
Sid Bryant, low snap, handoff. Gans trying to drive his way forward, but he'll be brought down to the turf as the Cavaliers were waiting for him that time. Nicholas Anderson, the first one there for the Cavaliers.
By number 62, Nick Anderson. And number 1,
now the Gators face 2nd and 12 after forcing the turnover on downs. Aaron snap by Cameron Murphy, the 6'3 center for the Cavaliers, and QB Hindley couldn't do anything with it. So the Gators got it 1st and 10, now 2nd and 12 with the ball at the 35. Handoff, Gans trying to bounce it left. He'll pick up a crease and spin his way forward back to around the 33, maybe the 32, depends on the spot, but whatever the case may be, it's 3rd and long for Gateway. And the Cavalier is slow to get to his feet near the middle of the field. That's Wilson Spencer, the 5'10", 210-pound junior. Or excuse me, that is not Spencer, that is Can Mbandi.
Official timeout.
So Mbandi, 6'3", 270, the junior for Gateway. Looks like it was his left ankle as Don Hall comes over and checks on him quickly, and the athletic training staff stays out there. And just when we went into this game thinking the Gators are starting to get healthy going into conference play as Elvis Kachakis returned to the lineup, he's now out with what appears to be at least some sort of significant left ankle injury. Now Kane Mbandi is down. And that was encouraging. We knew we weren't going to see Kenny Lewis for the rest of the season, but getting Mark Knight back, having Elvis Kachakis back in the lineup, those were encouraging signs.
And again, the way that linebacker core is playing and how healthy they are right now, and certainly hopefully if Mbandi's able to get himself back up, and even if it's not this contest, but if he's back in the lineup real soon, such a really impressive performance by these interior linemen for the Gators. You've got some real solid skill in that heart of your defense and on the offensive line that, you know, you can get by without a Kenny Lewis. You can get by perhaps maybe with a Sid Bryant for a while, but you know, you want to get your horses in there because 5A is just so competitive. The Big East, so competitive.
Let's take a look at the rearview mirror and what's up ahead for this Gateway Gators football team. 2 losses to start the season against 6A district champions in State College and North Allegheny, then at Plum last week in the final non-conference game before we head into the meat of the conference schedule this week at Kiski. And finally, we'll be back at home next Friday as the Gators take on the Franklin Regional Panthers. Then we'll head back up in this neck of the woods as Gateway will be at Armstrong before the Battle of the Bell homecoming night on October 4th at Antamarino Stadium. Then we'll be making the short trip to the Wolverina. And the Gators will host the surprise Latrobe Wildcats before wrapping up the season against Hempfield. Little hitch, then a toss. And the pass intended for S.J. Moorfield is incomplete. A little bit of an overthrow there for Sid Bryant.
Had him, that one just a little too much on it. Take another look. Oh man, they had him. Now decision time. Let's get that offense out on the field. Don't blame them. And Bandy back into the lineup after a playoff. That's really, really encouraging to see for the Gators.
Especially since he lines up at left tackle most often. It's good to have that blind side protected for Sid Bryant. It's 4th and 9 for the Gators. Low snap, play action. Sid Bryant steps into one. Toss is broken up. Coming in and knocking that one down to the turf with Tegan Shirley. And the Cavaliers return the favor, forcing the Gators to turn it over on downs.
Maybe encouraging that they dropped that, seeing as that would have been deep within their own territory. Certainly they would have had an opportunity for a run back had that been caught cleanly, but Certainly crisis averted for the Cavaliers, who gave the Gators the ball inside the 35, 1st and 10, and take back over at the 31 without any change on the scoreboard.
Avon Shirley lining up as a Wildcat quarterback in a very unique setup, to say the least. And Shirley tries to run his way forward, and Mark Knight says, no. He makes the stop in the backfield.
And to add insult to injury, a flag comes in from the sidelines, which way more often than not indicates an offensive penalty.
And I think this may have been an illegal formation, but the officials kind of cleaned that one up, say no foul. And as they had some conversations about the alignment, and they say that the QB Shirley got back to the line of scrimmage. And from our vantage point, it certainly didn't seem like that, but regardless, Mark Knight stopped that one for no gain.
Shirley, no gain on the play, brings up 2nd and 10.
Finally back in at QB here in the pistol. Heinley steps to his left, tosses it to that far boundary where it is complete for a Cavaliers first down. Stepping out of bounds is Andrew Finney inside of Gators territory at the 49.
Henley showing the experience and the chemistry he has with his receivers. A good job there by Finney, just sort of finding that soft spot in the defense and waiting for the ball to get to him. Second time tonight the Cavaliers have had it in Gators territory. Now can they make something of it and bring this back to a 2-score game when it looked like for a moment it might balloon to 4 scores in favor of the Gators?
Heinley has time, rolls to his left. Mark Knight converges. The pass is intercepted. It looked like it was intended for Jaden Stammer, who races down the sideline and steps out of bounds inside of Cavaliers territory. Certainly an ill-advised pass there by Carson Heinley, and the interception by Stammer gives Gateway the ball back inside of Cavaliers territory after the return.
Have yourself a night, Stammer. If it weren't for the performance that we're seeing out of Amari Gans with 3 touchdowns, you'd have to think that Stammer would be your player of the game thus far, with some big receptions offensively, and they're going up and taking care of business there. There was no one around him when he intercepted that pass. And so deflating as you take a look. Mark Knight got a shot in at the end of this one. Clean too, able to just extend the arms a little bit. Didn't get the helmet in there, didn't touch the helmet. That's a really good heady play to let the quarterback know you're coming without doing anything that breaks the boundary of a legal play.
Sid Bryant takes the snap off of play action, tosses it down the field, jump ball, and somehow it is pulled in for a Gateway touchdown. How was it pulled in? One-handed Dyson Harper reaches around a defender and takes it in the end zone for the Gateway TD.
My goodness gracious, the play action fake. They've been running the ball so well, but these last few plays, Bryant taking some shots deep and with coverage just draped over him. It was really good coverage by the defensive back for the Cavaliers, Avon Shirley, but just a better grab by Dyson Harper, who just gets that one paw out there, brings it in, and muscles his way, dragging Shirley into the end zone for 6.
Well, that is the way you take advantage of the INT. You go for the big play right away. Good decision-making by the Gateway coaching staff. Great execution by the Gateway reserve QB, Sid Bryant. And a nice job by Dyson Harper, one of many Harpers we're going to talk about over the years here at Gateway, with that catch for the Gators.
Just a thing of beauty, and a great ball by Bryant as well. Coming in off the bench, he's starting to get himself into a bit of a rhythm, and such a luxury for the Gators to have that guy at signal caller who's had some experience. He's played under the Friday night lights, has been in this program for a while now, and just steps up there. That's a confidence-building throw for this entire offense. To see number 15 be able to put that ball on a rope there and complete that for a touchdown, you really lament losing your starting quarterback, and that's such a tough pill to swallow for so many teams. But boy, is that a really nice sight to see your backup come in, air it out like that, and boy, that might be a catch of the year candidate here real early in the season.
So Lococo to kick off here for the Gateway Gators. And the senior booms this one. It'll carry out of bounds at around the 15, so Kiski in all likelihood is going to take this ball at the 35. And Vince, let's touch back real quick on that quarterback spot for Gateway with Sid Bryant in there right now. May have been a bit of a blessing if we're going to see Elvis Kachakis out of the lineup for an extended period of time. For Bryant last week to get some experience back there at quarterback, obviously played some last year, but back here this season to get more experience at that QB spot. Last week in non-conference, then he has to get called into duty here again tonight, but he has some experience under his belt this year as well.
Sure does, and clearly paying dividends here early in this conference opener.
Heinle in the shotgun. Looks left, throws left, pass complete to Shirley. And Shirley brought down in the open field by Mark Knight. And boy, is he returned to the lineup with some impact.
You could tell he's playing with a ton of swagger, looking over at the coaches. He knows that he is disrupting this game almost single-handedly on some of these plays. And you love to see him play with that level of confidence, going out there, making plays. He's just so noticeable when he's out there on the field. And I mean that in the most complimentary way for number 11 down there, Mark Knight.
And with Sid Bryant out of the lineup, he moves to outside linebacker, and Colin Ireland comes into play inside linebacker alongside Jackson Smith. So that makes Mark Knight even more impactful on the fringes of the Kiski offense. As this toss comes to the near side, it is complete. Tegan Shirley with the comeback route, and he's met at the midfield stripe by Casey Carter. 1st and 10 for the Cavaliers, right at that 50.
That's maybe been the one negative, is the amount of time on some of these plays that Henley's had to hang on to the ball and some of the breakdowns in coverage there. But it's been a bend, don't break sort of night for the Gators. They've given up a couple big chunk plays in the air, but it hasn't really materialized into anything meaningful for the Cavaliers.
Heinle looks left, throws left, pass a little bit low, but scooped up over there by Finney, and Finney is brought down in the backfield as the Gators were there to swallow it up. And I think it was Knight again, and it was.
Sure was. Boy, just so strong. Watch as he rushes the ball. Great job breaking down, not over pursuing, and then just brings the ball carrier down, almost looking effortlessly. I mean, it's just incredible to watch.
And that showed how he's that five-tool player they talk about in baseball. You know, closing speed there, open field tackle, showed the strength. Just a great job by Mark Knight bringing up the 2nd and 11. Heinle looks right, now steps back left, tosses, and the pass is intercepted again. And I think it is. It's Stammer with the INT.
And this one, I'm not sure. I think the interception will stand, Adam, but I think you'll see in the corner of your screen an illegal block right after the INT. You're going to see right here, Moorfield Jr. You can't do that, man. That's outside of the bounds of what you need to do there, and just a shot you don't take.
And I'll tell you what, Vince, I mean, I'm, in my mid-40s. I played football 20, some years ago, almost 30 years ago at this point. In my day, that was 100% legal and encouraged. And in today's game, I'm actually glad it's out of there because it expands guys' careers.
Well, and that play serves no purpose. That player was not. Moorfield could have gotten in there and extended the arms, just like how Mark Knight laid that hit on the quarterback a couple drives ago. And you take that player out without it being gratuitous, without it being a play that leads to a potential injury.
So Jaden Stammer with his 2nd INT of the game, but the return is negated. And this is ultimately 15 yards back from where the INT happened at the 30. So it's 1st and 10 from the 15. Long field challenge for the Gators with just under 6 minutes to go in the first half. Bryant deploying 2 to either side. Low snap. Bryant tosses it straight down the middle. Tristan Houston is wide open, and he's wrapped and brought down as the Gators are able to transition that ball from inside of their own territory down out towards midfield as Tristan Houston is brought down.
And Gators going to go a little tempo here. Going to rush to the line as you take another look at Houston just out on his own there. If he makes that guy miss, he's off to the races. The Gators going a little up tempo here with the backup quarterback.
Toss to the right, complete over to that side where it is pulled in by Dan Sear, and Dan Sear drives his way across the 40 out towards the 45-yard line where the tackle is made by Tegan Shirley.
Number 13.
See just yet another weapon in the arsenal. I haven't called Dan Sear's number yet tonight. Just another person that can reliably catch the ball and keep you on schedule. Now 2nd and short.
Just under 20 to go on the play clock as the Gators face this 2nd and 3. Option to the right. Pitch. Houston bounces off of a tackler but ended up losing his balance after the collision by Amari Gonzalez.
I don't think Sid Bryant could have waited any longer to pitch that ball. Really good tackle by Gonzalez to nullify that, to bring up 3rd and short, to try and cut the bleeding here after it's been all Gators just laying it on here in the first half.
3rd and 3. Ball at the 45 as Sid Bryant steps forward and barks out signals. Handoff. Tristan Houston bounces it right. Gators first down into Cavaliers territory as he surged forward to the 49, but there's a flag back near the line of scrimmage.
Near midfield.
Holding. Offense, number 50.
Well, as an old offensive lineman, from what I saw on that replay, there was nothing by any stretch of the imagination that was egregious holding.
Yeah, tough break there, and that's going to take 3rd and short and make this 3rd and a must-pass situation for the Gators. And more than anything, you just want to take care of the ball here and not give any momentum or turn the ball over to the Cavaliers. But certainly you were humming along there offensively, and these can be drive killers.
So 3rd, about 11 or 12. Sid Bryant looking left the whole way, and he is undercut with the sack, Eli Schultz.
Well, we'll see the punt team for the first time tonight for the Gators. That was just a play that blew up. And credit to the Cavaliers. They manhandled things at the line of scrimmage there and didn't allow any time for Sid Bryant to look downfield. Going to stay in and perform punting duties as well for the Gators.
Well, we certainly saw Lococo have his struggles punting in week 0 against State College. It's been Sid Bryant's position since then.
Number 4, Andrew.
Let's see if he can get his foot into this one. Good snap. Punt away. This a beauty by Sid. Takes a bounce in favor of the Gators and continues to roll in favor of Gateway. And was touched by a Gator at the 36-yard line where it'll be 1st and 10 for the Kiski Cavaliers.
Yeah, good job flipping the field by Bryant. And we talked about the Gators' schedule earlier. We're kind of up and down the region with the way these realigned conferences go. Be down towards Wolverine, we'll be up in Armstrong. But I do want to very, very quickly give a shout out to some family who is circled around the TV on the back porch in Washington, Pennsylvania, tuning in tonight. Appreciate you all tuning in, and glad to be able to do this for everyone who tunes in.
To the ground go the Cavaliers for a rare time as Cusick, the ball carrier, and he is brought down by Casey Carter. Vince, talk about the family members down in Washington, PA, circled around that back patio watching the game. Well, you've certainly got your fair share of family in this neck of the woods, and I was talking about it last week. This a homecoming of sorts for you. Granted, you're not from Kiski area, but you are from just up the road in Freeport.
Yeah, played under John Gaylott, who's now in his 17th season, was a pretty green behind the ears coach when I played for the Yellow Jackets, and so that certainly makes you feel old quick, and very proud of my one carry for 4 yards as a wide receiver back in the day. But yeah, I got off 28, and if I would have made a left on 908, would have been able to go see the folks. But instead, where else would you rather want to be than here? Kiski, watching the Gators really put together a strong performance despite some of these injuries.
Cavalier slow to get to his feet as we take a look what's up ahead for Kiski after they have lost 2 to Hempfield and Norwin out of 6A. They got the victory against Knock back in week 0. And they will be at home for the 4th straight week next Friday against the Penn Trafford Warriors before they hit the road for 3 in a row at Franklin Regional, at Latrobe, and at Armstrong before traveling to Plum, or rather hosting Plum in the penultimate game of the season, and then traveling to the Wolverina for the final game of the year.
2nd and 10 for the Cavaliers.
So 2nd and 10 for Kiski. Pistol formation. Heinley looking left, throwing left. Pass is complete, but Jackson Smith is right there to finish off the play after Connor Jordan had the reception. And boy, this linebacking core is so very good for Gateway. And when you can insert Colin Ireland and not miss a beat because Sid Bryant has to play quarterback, that just tells you not only is it a strong linebacking core, it's also at least one player deeper.
Yeah, this Gators defense, excuse me, this is a real coming out party for this entire unit, let alone the linebacking crew that has shown through even more so. No diamond in the rough. They're all diamonds out there tonight on the defensive side of the ball, and they have just made life so difficult. And, you know, as you sort of navigate underclassmen and backup quarterbacks and, you know, trying to navigate life without Kenny Lewis, one of the top receivers in the WPIAL, what a luxury to be able to lean on such a talented unit defensively, especially as you enter into conference play. It's going to be super important. And I think the Big East, candidly, out of all of the conferences, is probably the most, has the most parity and is maybe the most up for grabs. I mean, I think the Allegheny 6, you've got Bethel Park, Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, are super solid, and then really it's Pine, Richland, maybe North Hills, and everyone else in the Northeast.
Looks like Gateway is going to be guilty of an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty here. And the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty goes against Gateway's head coach, Don Hall. And that'll push the Cavaliers' ball inside of Gateway territory to the 45-yard line.
I have to wonder what upset him so much with how well the team's playing. But, you know, coaches, they're never content, always pushing for more. And that time just a little over the line as far as the officials are concerned.
Heinley looking right, throwing right, pass complete to Finney. Finney is met by 2 Gators. First one Carter, second one Diggs. Gain of just 1, and it's 2nd and 9.
Tell you what, though, whatever Don Hall's doing is working because he's got this team firing on all cylinders. Everything just looks so difficult. Every yard that Kiski gains seems like it is an uphill battle. On the other side, the Gators have just been cutting through like a hot knife through butter.
The Gators now brought Carter in, an outside linebacker, and it's Knight and Jackson Smith on the inside as that toss goes to that left-hand side, complete to Carter Brown. Brown surges his way back towards the line of scrimmage, but he is met by the Gators there as that play was very slow developing, and Mark Knight and Amari Gans were there to keep the gain of just 1.
I think the Cavaliers thought with everyone streaming downfield they'd be able to sort of dump that one off and have, you know, catch a Gator sleeping a little bit, but Amari Gans and Mark Knight, they were quick to dispel any of that.
3rd and 8.
Once again, 3rd and long, falling behind the chains of the Cavaliers.
So Gans is lined up at the right outside linebacker. Boy, that's just amazing, the linebackers that the Gators can shuffle in and out of the lineup. As Heinley pressured, rolling right, Mark Knight converging. Pass to the near sideline is incomplete, and that'll bring up 4th down and 8.
Now, stop me if you've heard this before. Mark Knight getting in on the play late this time. You'll see he comes across that middle of your screen there, forces Henley get rid of that ball maybe a little bit before he wanted to, and keeps him from being able to pull that down, tuck it, and run it. Another great angle here by our excellent crew. See that closing speed by Knight. My goodness. even there with that slowed down a little bit, it looks like he's sped up a little bit.
Linebacking core just plug and play with each and every member, especially when Mark Knight returns. Heinley, all kinds of time this time, but he didn't have anybody to throw it to, so he's flushed from the pocket, tosses to the near side where it is complete to Andrew Finney, and he is tattooed by Jackson Smith, and that will be a turnover on downs as the Cavaliers not able to get the first down.
Play by Jackson Smith.
And insult to injury, looks like Shirley, or Finney rather, excuse me, a little shaken up on the play. Yeah, that one, nice grab, but a great form tackle there, driving the player backwards. A good job knowing where the down and distance is, and the Gators defense making sure that the receiver did not get to that line of game.
And I'll tell you what, Vince, is we had a really good look at that on our replay. I'm not convinced, number one, that it was a completed pass, and if it was, that it wasn't a fumble after that. But regardless, it's a turnover on downs. The Gators get the ball, so it doesn't matter too much, as we will hopefully get another opportunity to look at that one a bit later. Andrew Finney, good news for he and the Cavaliers. He's to his feet and to the sideline, and hopefully can return for the host Cavaliers.
And now, if you're the Gators, I don't know if you even really try to push the envelope here. Just take a knee or hand it off to Gans one time, get your butt into the locker room, give these guys a well-deserved rest because they have just been firing on all cylinders. Really cannot compliment the team enough.
Good look at that again. Finney, his knee was down when the ball sprung loose. Sid Bryant kept the ball on his hip, and he's going to toss it to S.J. Moorfield, and he is blanketed by defensive back Avon Shirley. So there's a flag back near the line of scrimmage. Then there's defensive pass interference. So they've got to iron out what the penalty is here on the right side of the offensive line. That looks like some sort of either formational penalty or illegal motion. So it's formation against Gateway. And then the DPI goes along with it. They offset, and it is 1st and 10 for Gateway, again at the 37.
Fun little play there, and Sid Bryant did a great job selling that fake, tucked that ball, stood there like he was a complete non-participant in the play, and then just sort of uncorked that one, and a nice ball as well to Moorfield.
Bryant off of some play action. Flushes to the right. Feels some pressure. Wrapped and brought down at around the 31-yard line. Clock will continue to wind, and I think Gateway will be satisfied to take this 28-point lead into the locker room. So we have played 24 minutes of football here, and Gateway has been hitting on all cylinders, but one big problem, freshman QB Elvis Kuchakis is out with an ankle injury.
And it is super deflating on one end to see that, but at least reassuring that Sid Bryant has been excellent in his stead tonight. And so you find some solace in the fact that Bryant looks the part, and he's able to push the ball downfield. Not often do you see two quarterbacks that are able to push the ball, and I'd argue that Bryant at this point in time, being an upperclassman, might be able to put a little more on that ball than Elvis has throwing out toward the numbers thus far this season. So you look like you've got, I think this is more of a case of 1 and 1A than 1 and 2. Certainly I think Elvis adds some dynamic possibilities with his legs. I think he throws a little bit crisper of a ball. We've seen a couple wobblers from Bryant, but we've seen Bryant take really good care of the ball, and even when the balls have wobbled a little bit, he's putting them in places where only his receiver can go and make a play on it. So really, I can't say enough how complete of a half this was for the Gators. Definitely their best half of football this season.
Homecoming halftime, so it's a little bit longer than we're accustomed to, just about a half hour. So enjoy the marching bands and some of the halftime festivities. And Vince and I will be back to get you set for the third quarter. Your halftime score, Gateway 28, the Kiski Area Cavaliers 0. And you're tuned in to GatewayGatorProductions.com.
And now, the Gateway Music Department is proud to present drum major Lynn Moore and the Gateway High School Marching Band.
yet? Have they escorted you out of the facility? No. Nicely done.
The Gateway Babies, directed by Mr. Brian Rosen, with assistance from Kelly McMaster Carson, Dave Vernon, Casey Bird, Doc McGrill, with further direction by Jamie Carter and Deb Costa. The Gateway Band would like to extend well wishes to the Kiski Area Band for their fantastic season. Thank you for your kind support.
It's halftime in Leechburg, Pennsylvania, as the Gateway Gators lead the Kiski Area Cavaliers 28-0. Adam Gusky and Vince Russo on the call for you here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. And Vince, it was a big first half for the Gateway Gators, and not only were they able to score the football, but they were able to take the ball away from Kiski on multiple occasions.
Yeah, however you really want to tee it up, and we'll take a look at a strong interception here where Mark Knight gets a shot in on the quarterback right as he lets it go, and then a big-time interception down the field for Jaden Stammer. It was defense turning into offense, and the offense got the tempo going early, but even amid a quarterback injury and having to work through that, the defense being able to generate turnovers, being able to stop anything and everything Kiski Area tried to do, and then turning it into plays like this. Arguably one of the plays of the season that we'll see across this region. Just a beautiful one-handed grab by the receiver Dyson Harper on a dime, an absolute dime by Sid Bryant.
And like you said, probably the catch of the year, at least as of now for the Gateway Gators. Just an absolute dime drop, like you said, by Sid. But really, nice job by Dyson Harper to pull that one in. And talking at halftime, in all likelihood, we're not going to see Elvis Kachakis this week, or maybe for the foreseeable near future. A reasonably serious left ankle injury. We saw the inflated boot on that left ankle. We haven't seen him on the sideline recently. And Gateway, they had some nail-biting moments at the end of that first half because Sid Bryant was running to the right. He got tangled up and actually had to sit down on the bench for a little while and be tended to by one of the athletic trainers before he was able to get to his feet and jog to the sideline. The good news is it looks like he's going to be able to go and continue to go for Gateway as the reserve QB.
Hey, you're playing with fire. We talked about what should the approach be for the Gators with 31 seconds left in the half, and they did not go with the knee. They went past that and decided to pull the trick play out. We talked a little bit off air. Do you worry about tipping your hand when you might save that play for a later game? But more importantly, the more you take shots, the more that other teams can take shots at you, and that very nearly could have been disaster for the Gators. Crisis averted. They still have their second-string quarterback. They'll live to play another half.
And one thing I kind of neglected to point out in the first half that seems to be fairly evident with the way players are going down, this is not the most forgiving turf out there. We've seen both Sid Bryant get tangled up. We've seen some Gateway receivers get tangled up. Some Kiski players have had some ankle grabs. And, of course, the most serious incident thus far has been Elvis Kachakis, the freshman quarterback, as we are back underway here in Leechburg for the third quarter. Return from around the 9-yard line. Connor Jordan. No, check that. That is number 24, Amari Gonzalez on the return. And he takes it out towards the 30. They'll mark him down at around the 28, where it'll be 1st and 10 for the Cavaliers as they still look for their first points of the game.
Another strong kick by Lococo, and we'll see. You had that long homecoming halftime, almost a half hour off the field. Now you got to rev it back up. Which team comes out, makes the adjustments? Is it the Gators that are able to put it into a running clock, or is it the Cavaliers trying to make this a bit of a game, down 4 scores here at the beginning of half number 2?
Straight drop back for the Kiski QB. Pass down the middle, and it is pulled in and off to the races down this near sideline. A diving stop is made by the Gateway D-back Jordan Stammer, but turning the field is Avon Shirley as he catches that ball from Heinle.
Shirley's had a quiet night, but he's a big-time playmaker for this Cavaliers team. He delivered in all phases to complement the 4 touchdowns by Cusick in the 42-7 win in week 0. Returned to kickoff for 80 yards, helped them build a 21-0 lead, and was able to put together 6 catches for 68 yards in that opening season win. And there you saw that breakaway speed and Stammer having to stay with him step for step and barely able to bring him down inside the 10-yard line.
Heinle stepping under center this time. Handoff goes to Cusick, and he goes to the right and has nowhere to go as the Gators were all over that one. Casey Carter involved in the tackle for the Gators.
Cusick, man, he's a bell cow for this Kiski offense, and I don't know that he touched the ball even 5 times in that first half because of how well he was bottled up on those few opportunities that he had to get the ball. It seemed like every time he got it, he was met in the backfield with force, and that time no different as the Gators were able to push him back.
2nd and goal from the 7 now as Heinle is in the shotgun with Cusick to his left. Handoff goes to Cusick. He runs to the right, and the Gators close the hole quickly. Cusick still able to get down inside of the 5 to the 4-yard line. As the initial contact was made by Elijah Fisher.
Really the first real adversity the Gators have run into tonight outside of navigating the injury to Elvis Kachakis. How do they respond here with their heels up against their own goal line? And every time Kiski got it into opponent territory in the first half, they were able to come away with an interception. We'll see if that happens here.
Heinle on 3rd and goal from the 4. Pistol formation with Cusick behind him. Heinle pressured, wrapped, sacked. No, he's still on his feet. How's he still going? But ultimately, Mark Knight is going to make the play for the Gateway Gators. The first one in there was Gans, and I thought he had him dead to rights, but somehow Heinle got out of there, but then Mark Knight ends up cleaning up the play after the Gators sent wave after wave at Heinle.
Credit to the senior quarterback and the effort that he made to get away from waves of Gator defenders, but boy, they just don't quit coming, man. And that time it was Mark Knight once again who finished the job after an onslaught of Gators got into the backfield and made life difficult for the senior quarterback.
Loss of 14 on that play brings up 4th and goal from the 18-yard line, and the offense stays out there. Heinle in the shotgun. Heinle surveys. Now some pressure as he steps to his left. Stepping forward, he was across the line of scrimmage, but it was intercepted by Stammer. So if they don't say he's past the line of scrimmage, Gateway takes it away and gets the touchback. So the official's going to talk it out. And they will say it is a touchback on the INT from Stammer. Stammer, his 3rd pick of the game.
Heinle's going to be seeing Stammer in his nightmares tonight. Every time they've gotten the ball past midfield, that ball's been taken away by a Gator, and more often than not, it's been number 8. As you see, he's able to keep those feet. Beautiful toe tap there. We saw him do it on offense there. We see him do it on defense. He has been a ball hawk on both sides of the ball tonight. An exceptional night for that talented DB Stammer.
And let's see if Heinle was past that line of scrimmage. He was right at the line of scrimmage, so there is some forgiveness there based on where the feet are when the ball is thrown. As long as I believe you're at the line of scrimmage, your body can be beyond it as long as one foot is there, and that's what we saw from Heinle. Regardless, INT from Stammer. Gateway has it 1st and 10 at the 20 after the touchback. Straight up the gut goes Amari Gans, breaks a tackle, still on his feet out towards the 40 before he is tripped up and brought down. A couple of Cavaliers are there to make the stop, including Andrew Finney.
Picking up right where they left off. That might be their best pure designed run play of the night here to start the second half, but they certainly moved the ball effectively on offense both ways they wanted in that first half.
And I misspoke, that was not Finney on the tackle, it was Shirley, the safety. So it's 1st and 10 for Gateway at the 39 after that 19-yard rush by Amari Gans, who had the first 3 Gators touchdowns today. Gans takes it, bounces it left. Tries to cut his way to the outside and will be brought down after some positive yardage by Avon Shirley, but still a gain of 5 for Amari Gans to the 44.
You see that snap almost got away from Sid Bryant. I think Gans here needs to just turn the Jets on toward that outer part of the field. I think there he sort of stutter steps to wait and invite that defender to come and initiate contact. I think Gans thought he'd be able to dance around the defender. I would have liked to have seen him just try to turn on the Jets and get a few more yards on that one.
Option to the right. Sid Bryant's going to tuck. He's going to run. He's still on his feet, driving his way towards the first down marker. He gets it in more to the 50-yard line.
That's one thing you gain with Bryant as compared to Kuchakis. Certainly Kuchakis a little more elusive, but boy, when Bryant's got to put his head down, he is not afraid, usually playing that linebacker position we talked about in the first half. And hey, that's where he started tonight. So contact is something he is super familiar with, and that time not afraid to just bulldoze his way to move the sticks.
Nicholas Anderson on the tackle on that preceding play by the Cavaliers. It's 1st and 10 with the ball at the 49 inside of Kiski area territory. Handoff, Gans bouncing it right, turns on the Jets. Spinning his way forward, gain of about 8, brings up 2nd down and 2.
Around the right edge.
Steady as it goes, just keep feeding number 5, keep running this clock. High percentage plays, taking care of the ball. It's really the recipe for the second half if you're the Gators. Minimize opportunities for Kiski to capitalize on mistakes.
Tegan Shirley had the tackle on the previous play by the Cavaliers. So it's 2nd and 2 with the ball at the 41. Handoff, Gans. He's got the first down and more, but there's a flag down, I think, Gateway with an illegal formation.
Tackled by Yanarella. Flag on the play.
So this will negate that first down. So instead of the 1st and 10, it'll be 2nd and 7.
And circumstantially, you might not think much about some of these penalties up 28 midway through the third quarter, but we've seen that a number of times tonight, and part of that is going to be you have a turnstile of offensive players in and out because you've had the injury bug bite you a bit. But, you know, if this comes down to like the battle of the bell, you're late in the third quarter and it's a one-score game, these formation penalties could be absolute drive killers. And so that's going to be something, you got some younger players in here, try to work those things out tonight in a game that you have in hand and hope that you're able to navigate that moving forward against your conference opponents.
So 2nd and 7 for the Gators with the ball at the 46, the line to gain the 39. Sid Bryant setting up the screen, holding penalty against Gateway is going to negate this first down on the screen pass.
Bryant's pass complete to Gans. Flag on the play.
So Vince, looking back on the formational penalties that Gateway has been guilty of, you know, that's a circumstance where are the officials being to letter of the law? Is it a nickel and dime situation? We've seen a sideline warning against both teams. We've seen several formational penalties go against Gateway. We saw Gateway be charged with a unsportsmanlike conduct by the head coach. Is this a circumstance where the officials are trying to make their presence known a little bit more than you might find in a game that isn't a 28-0 affair with 6 minutes to play in the third quarter?
Hard to say. I don't feel like they've commandeered this game, but we certainly have noticed them a little bit more as the night's gone on.
Sid Bryant looking left, throwing left, looking for Stammer, but the pass is short. Converging on that was Carter Brown. And the pass incomplete brings up 3rd down and 16 as the Gators drive clearly has stalled here after a formational penalty followed by a holding penalty, setting Gateway up with this 3rd and 16 after the incomplete pass.
Takes you off schedule, makes you one-dimensional. You got to air it out now when your bread and butter has been pounding the rock on the ground. Let's see what they draw up here on 3rd and 16.
Well, sometimes they butter the bread with the run, and other times they put icing on the cake, like on that touchdown pass from Sid Bryant to Dyson Harper. Sid with time. Pass deflected and will fall to the turf, incomplete. And that incomplete pass brings up 4th down and 16, and the punt unit's going to come on for the Gators. So we take a look at this. Nice job on that rush coming from the left side for the Cavaliers to get a piece of that pass by Sid Bryant.
Good awareness, get those hands up in the passing lane. You never know what might happen. You never know if you got a linebacker that might be waiting there for a tip drill. And that time, luckily, that one just falls aimlessly to the turf. The Gators catch a little bit of a break.
5:34 to play here in the 3rd quarter as the snap sails over the head of Sid Bryant, and Sid punts it to the sideline where it'll bounce out of bounds at the 27-yard line, where it'll be 1st and 10 for the Cavaliers. So the Cavaliers, who had the ball 4th and goal from the 18-yard line, the interception thrown, Gateway moved the ball into Cavaliers territory somewhere around the 41-yard line. Penalties pushed them back. An errant snap there on the punt pushes the Gators even further back. And then when Sid Bryant punts it away, it gives the Cavaliers the ball 1st and 10 at the 26. And there's still some life for the home team on homecoming.
If you can get some points here midway through the 3rd. Never know what might be able to happen, but you got to score quick because at some point it becomes a numbers game. And can you accumulate that many points in that short of amount of time?
So, Vince, you were talking earlier, or at least off air, about some of the scores going around the WPIAL, and one score of note in the Big East Conference was the Woodland Hills Penn Trafford game. That obviously has a lot of bearing on what's going to happen in the future for the Gateway Gators, because they've got Penn Trafford and Woodland Hills with them as, you know, some of the favorites in the conference. But Latrobe obviously has been a team to be reckoned with going into this 3rd week of the season, week 4 ultimately.
Yeah, they were a team, you know, the Latrobe Wildcats coming into the season that I was bullish on going into Big East play. And in 5A, they gave Aliquippa all they could handle in the postseason last year. They got a linebacker headed to Penn State. They got some other D1 level talent. And that's just a program that has confidence and is playing with confidence. And I think their non-conference schedule has set them up real nicely this season.
Off the top of my head, they're playing Franklin Regional tonight, correct?
They are, with scoreless at the half. I got some more scores I can give here after a sack by the Gators. We talked about Big East action, so yeah, that game scoreless at the half, and Woodland Hills, a big Scoop Smith touchdown right before the half gives them a 21-7 lead at the break, and then otherwise accounted for in the conference. Can't find a score for Armstrong and Cannon Mac, but they're in action out of conference tonight. One across 5A that folks might want to keep an eye on in the Northeast. Pine Richland just a 3-point lead, 27-24 over North Hills. Seems like every few years North Hills really puts together a team, and sitting at 3-0 right now, they might be a team to take seriously in 5A.
2nd down and 11 after the Mark Knight sack, and to the ground go the Cavaliers straight up the gut. It is Landon Cusick who drives his way for a gain of about 5 or 6.
Up the middle. Gain of 6.
Mark Knight again involved in that tackle for the Gateway Gators. As you see him down at the bottom of that pile.
When he lays his head on the pillow tonight, it won't be long before he's asleep, because he has been working and working hard. That's the most productive run play we've seen from Kiski. Designed run that hasn't been a quarterback keeper off of a designed pass play. It's been a tremendous effort by this defensive front and the linebacking crew for the Gators.
Gain of 6 brings up 3rd and 5 here for the Cavaliers. Play action. Heinley rolling left. Tosses it towards the goal line, but well out of bounds. I think he just wanted to live to fight another day, and that'll bring up 4th and 5.
This is one where I think if Henley just decides to take it and run, look at that greenery right there in front. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, smart throwaway, but if he tucks that a little sooner and puts the wheels on, I think he at least gets the first down there. So that's...
And he may be a little reluctant because he has seen the closing speed that Gateway has on all facets of that defense, especially in the second and third lines from that linebacking crew and then the secondary.
Which isn't that such an incredible side effect when you're playing that well that they don't even want to try it.
So it's 4th down and 5. Big play here for the Cavaliers with just under 4 minutes to play in the third quarter. Heinle is in the shotgun. Scrambles to his left. Mark Knight closes that running lane. Toss towards the sideline, and it is incomplete over there on that boundary. Avon Shirley couldn't hang on to it with his feet inbounds.
Well, he certainly would have had to have put it on a rope, but right there you see Shirley break into the end zone, had a step on Stammer. If he puts it in the back of the end zone, Shirley's got a real good chance to go get that. I think Henley just held on to the ball for too long.
And it looked like, yet again, a big defensive play by Jaden Stammer. Hopefully we get another look at this one as that pass headed towards the goal line for Avon Shirley. It's Stammer knocking him out of bounds before he's able to pull it in.
Incredible awareness and such a high IQ football play. Let him catch it, but understanding that the feet are so important in those sideline catches and making sure he doesn't come down in bounds really nullifies that. Now gives the ball back to the Gators once again. Bend, don't break. It's been the defensive strategy all night.
Snap a little off kilter for Sid Bryant. He'll pull it out of the belly of Amari Gans. Tries to toss it off to Carter, and the ball's knocked out of Carter's hands. And it will be an incomplete pass, bringing up 2nd down and 10. As breaking towards that one for the Cavaliers was Carter Brown.
Broken up by Carter Brown.
Who's playing better and better as this game goes on, and it's been a bit more noticeable in that secondary. And that play, I like the design, it just took a little too long to develop there, and Brown was able to suss that one out and get in to make the play.
So the clock is stopped with 3:36 to play here. Handoff, Gans, gaping hole. Keeps his balance as he breaks to the left-hand side, out towards the 30. He'll be shy of the line to gain, but it'll be 3rd and quite manageable here.
Yeah, opens everything back up for the Gators instead of 3rd and long. Right here, trips. Great job keeping the balance, keeping not only the knees off of the ground, but the elbows as well, which would have marked him down. Able to dive forward and set up a very manageable 3rd down situation for the Gators.
Braden Anderson had the tackle on that previous play. Handoff, Gans shifting his way forward, trying to find some open greenery. Picks up the 1st down regardless of how much space he was able to find. And that'll bring up 1st and 10. The clock continues to roll for the Gators, and Gateway has it at their own 34.
With the injuries you've amassed thus far tonight, that's what you want to see happen. Move the chains, keep the clock moving. You're at a good place on the scoreboard. If you keep that clock moving, it just becomes too big of a number for Kiski to surmount at this point.
Pitch goes to Amari Gans over to that right-hand side. Beautiful open field tackle by the safety, Tegan Shirley.
Yeah, good closing speed on that end of the ball now for the Cavaliers, something that we've lauded the Gators for all night, and they're just getting lower, making the tackle, bringing the ball carrier down, limiting that 1st down gain, and making it 2nd and long for the Gators now. And now Gans getting looked at on the sideline, hopefully just out of gas after the amount of work he's gotten tonight.
That means Tristan Houston is the setback for the Gators with 2 minutes to play here in the 3rd quarter. Down under 10 seconds to go on the play clock. And a false start against Gateway is going to cost them 5 yards. So instead of 2nd and 7, it'll be 2nd and a dozen. So the false start's going to go against Stammer, and it's 2nd and 12.
As a receiver, inexcusable. Going to get an earful for that one. You got to watch the ball. You got a great view of it. Just look down the line of scrimmage. If you're a receiver, you don't move until the ball moves. That's the old adage, as they say. Stay put till the ball goes.
Handoff, Tristan Houston drives his way forward. Picks up the penalty at least. It'll be 3rd and
Houston on the carry for the Gators.
about 8.
A strong run by Houston, north-south, not too much dilly-dallying, just put the head down, took what the defense would give them, and see if they can do it again here, move the chains on third down.
So it's 3rd and 7 for Gateway after Houston picked up the 5 yards that the Gators lost on the penalty. Sid Bryant off of play action, looks right, throws right, but he and Dyson Harper not on the same page as that one into the Gators bench. And do the Gators bring the punt unit on here? Do they try to convert here on 4th and 7? We saw what happened the last time the Gators went for the punt in this position. Ended up going over the head of Sid Bryant, and Gateway had to play some stronger defense to keep the Cavaliers off the board, so Gateway's going to go for it here on 4th and 7.
Very nearly got the jump there. There was a little movement by big 67, Eli Schultz. He stayed put just enough not to draw the flag.
So we may see a Sid Bryant pooch kick here, and that's exactly what we will see. An end-over-end kick that takes a beautiful bounce and roll in favor of the Gateway Gators, carrying inside of the 20 and down towards the 15, where it will be down by Stammer. And the Gators flip the field on the pooch punt in the latter stages of the 3rd quarter. Now you may have noticed throughout the evening I've touched on the play clock a little more than I would as usual, and a little bit of the way the sausage is made. Here at Kiski, they have 2 separate controllers, one that runs the clock scoreboard, and then there's one that just runs the play clock. So that is 2 separate controllers. We're only able to receive data from one, so that's why I'm trying to keep you as updated as possible when the play clock is either safe or running down further.
Well put.
Under center. It's Heinley handing off, running left. Cusick nowhere to go. Picked up a few as he found a crease. Looked like it closed up quickly. And it's 2nd and about 5. A gain of 5 there. Cusick was able to turn the corner and make something out of nothing there before the tackle was made by Sena Ekbadzi.
It's starting to get a little bit of momentum going, but boy, what a baptism this has been for Kiski and the Big East, and it's going to be, for both of these teams, interesting moving forward. It's such an interesting conference. Scoop Smith and the Wolverines, the always physical Penn Trafford Warriors.
This will be the final play of the 3rd quarter as Cusick's going to pick up the 1st down for the Kiski Cavaliers before S.J. Moorfield makes the tackle. Carter also involved on the stop.
Cusick strikes me as one of those guys that probably runs better as the game goes on. Certainly his legs are still fresh. They really haven't given him the ball that much. And, he prides himself, as we talked about earlier, on being a physical, hard-nosed runner. And so as the game goes on, he added weight in the offseason. He's the kind of guy that wants the ball in his hands as the game goes along. So if they're able to continue to ride him here down the field, I think they'll continue to do so.
5'11", 205 is Landon Cusick. So many, many years ago, you may be familiar with Connor and Cameron Hayward. You may know those names. Well, their dad, Ironhead Hayward, played for the Pitt Panthers. And the Pitt Panthers were hosting the Miami Hurricanes in a freezing rainstorm at Pitt Stadium, and Miami was laying the wood to the Pitt Panthers. But Ironhead Hayward rushed for like 200 yards that day. And the head coach of Robert Morris University, Bernard Clark Jr., told me that they allowed him to run for 200 yards because they didn't want to tackle him because it was so darn cold and they were up by so darn much.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like the kind of situation we might have here. It's probably tough for the defense. Certainly the weather's beautiful tonight. We've talked about that a few times. But you talk about a game that's in hand. How do you keep yourself really up for this in the 4th quarter when this guy's coming at you with a full head of steam after having not had the ball in his hands much the first 3 quarters?
And Gateway is going to be caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Now, I don't think the pass was going to get there to Avon Shirley. I don't think Shirley was going to get there regardless. But the penalty is going to go against Carlos Diggs because you can see him grabbing the jersey there on the left side of your screen.
He knew it immediately, put the hands on the helmet, and he's played so well tonight there. Just a lapse. And again, you might be able to attribute that to, how locked in do you stay up 28 in the 4th quarter here. It's getting a little late. You've played well. You've proved everything you need to prove. Now you just got to ride it out over these last 11 minutes, 57 seconds. Try to stay healthy and try to keep from making too many mistakes.
Every time Kiski has shown some sort of threat, the Gators have been able to thwart that. So it's not exactly like, they've felt back on their heels at all. And when they have, they responded well. And as Cusick goes to the ground, and it's Roberson Louis June with the big tackle who had a fumble recovery back in the first quarter.
That's a great point, Adam, as you see Cusick continuing to run hard here out toward midfield. It really has been uncanny how every time, and Kiski's had some great opportunities, taking over the ball with a goal-to-go situation. They've had the ball in Gateway territory. This might be, if they're able to get it another yard and a half here, about the 6th time that they've had the ball past the 50. They have had their chances, but every single time, almost single-handedly from Jaden Stammer, they've been able to take that off the board, take the ball away from the Cavaliers.
And whether that was an INT by Stammer or that big defensive play pushing the receiver Shirley out of bounds as the false start there by the Cavaliers. Right side of the line went. The center not on the same page, Cameron Murphy. And at center, Cameron Murphy was guilty of an errant snap back in the first half that ended up leading to the Cavaliers turning the ball over to the Gators on downs.
This is one of those games that feels like you give Kiski the ball 100 times, they still might not be able to find the back of the end zone. It's just been that kind of night for the Gators defense. So good.
So 2nd down and 11 here for the Cavaliers after the penalty. Cusick running right. Had a crease for a moment as he takes a Gator for a ride and drives it to the midfield stripe. Gain of 6 on that play brings up 3rd down and 5.
Cusick getting some real work here in this 3rd quarter after not having had the ball in his hands much. Ran for almost 900 yards last year on almost 200 carries, 4.5 yards a carry, 11 touchdowns last season. He's got 6 already this year. Trained in the offseason with Woodland Hills grad, former Cincinnati Bengal running back Chris Edmonds.
He was all right.
Offers from Waynesburg and Mount Union for Cusick.
Cusick takes the draw handoff, bouncing it left. He's out into open field, and he will be brought down by the Gators, but not before he takes it inside of the 20 towards the 15-yard line.
Felt like it was building up to this. Now those 1- and 2-yard gains have started to turn into 5 or 6, and it felt like it was only a matter of time with the tenacity that Cusick has ran the ball here in the second half that he would rip one for a larger gain. And now once again in the red zone, can the Cavaliers come away with points? It seems like every time they've gotten to this point, this is where things sort of unravel for them.
Landon Cusick takes the handoff again. Runs into a wall, then slides out of that wall and drives his way forward before being brought down by Casey Carter.
Good second effort there by Cusick. You see him sort of get bunched up here and then just sort of knifes through real quick. He's low to the ground. Nice second effort there to turn that into a positive play.
Cusick at the end of the season is going to see his summer coach, Chris Edmonds. Edmonds is on the staff at Woodland Hills, where he played his high school ball before matriculating to WVU, before being an undrafted free agent, as you said, with the Cincinnati Bengals, where he was kind of a slash. He played linebacker, H-back, tight end, fullback. Anything they asked him to do just so he could stay in the NFL. As Cusick again, the ball carrier, driving his way towards the line to gain, but not able to get there.
Cusick inside the 10 this time.
That's
3rd and 2, Cavaliers.
That's worth its weight in gold. I talked to a real close friend who worked at Kent State in their athletic department. At the same time, 2 Pittsburgh Steelers, future Pittsburgh Steelers, were there. One was Dree Archer, the other Roosevelt Nix, known more affectionately as Rosie Nix, here for the Steelers. And I'll finish the story here after this play.
So it's 3rd down and about 2 as Cusick takes the direct snap. Runs right, cuts it back left, heads towards the goal line, and he will cross the goal line for a Cavaliers touchdown.
Well, they simplified things there. Just kept the ball in Cusick's hands right off the snap. He's able to carry it into the end zone. Yeah, Cavaliers are on the board. Probably a little too late here with 8:06 left, but certainly at least makes things marginally interesting as they pull back within 3 scores.
And I think at this point, Gateway, they've got to start to use that clock to be their friend. And I think there were some times in that third quarter where that kind of slipped their mind. You know, going to the air is fine when you're trying to score points, but when you're trying to ice the game away in the second half up by 28, that's a time where certainly you want to work on the passing game, but you also want to just head home and get your first conference win of the year, and with a record of 2-2.
And everything has worked for the Gators tonight, so and far be it from them to think it wouldn't continue to work. Now to bookend that story about Archer and Nix, Archer was the more highly coveted player, a third-round pick out of Kent State to the Steelers. Never really found his footing in the NFL, and then Rosie Nix, as we all know, had himself a productive little career. And when you looked at their side-by-side earnings, Archer made a little over $1.5 million. Roosevelt Nix, never really a big impact player, stayed in the league for about a half a dozen years, cleared $6 million in the bank. Not a bad way to retire.
Touched on Kent State. Boy, have they been a familiar opponent for teams here in the Pittsburgh area and maybe a little bit further. And they took on the Pitt Panthers back in week 1. They lost that game. Then they lost to the St. Francis Red Flash, and now they're going to play Penn State. How about that big win for St. Francis over Kent State? An FCS team out of the Northeast Conference defeating an FBS team out of the Mid-American Conference in the Kent State Golden Flashes.
Now for the very casual college football fan, it might not seem that impactful, but for one of the lower conferences in FCS to rise up and beat a MAC team is certainly a big deal.
Especially when you get paid X number of dollars to, play that type of football game, as that kick carries out of bounds, never went 10 yards, so Gateway will get the ball in prime field position here.
Hopefully gives him the opportunity to take the air out of this ball.
So while we're on the subject of college football, semi-big game tomorrow here in the Pittsburgh area as the Pitt Panthers host the West Virginia Mountaineers in the Backyard Brawl. At Acrisure Stadium, it's going to be a sellout, and in all likelihood, one of the top 5 most attended events at Acrisure Stadium.
Well, the two teams played that night contest 2 years ago. It was such an electric atmosphere. I'm sure the tailgating scene will be excellent tomorrow. Both fan bases will really get up for that game. Was listening to some local sports radio on the way in. Such a weird matchup. Sort of the wind got taken out of the sails for WVU a little bit after a blowout loss to Penn State, but that's a team that won 9 games last year, has some aspirations. And people still really don't know what this Pitt team is with a young quarterback and a lot of unproven skill position players, but they are 2-0, so we'll see what happens.
Mari Gans, the ball carrier, carries it towards the line to gain, picks up 7 ultimately.
And to piggyback off that and to give us some conversation here in this, it's great to see rivalries in college. It's such a dying breed anymore, and it makes me that much more grateful we get to do this, and we have some of those big-time rivalry games coming up down the stretch here that'll be on GatewayGatorProductions.com that they've continued to be able to play Woodland Hills. This feels like it'll be the 3rd or 4th year in a row they'll play the Wolverines, this time potentially for a conference title if both teams continue to play well in conference play.
Amari Gans, the ball carrier, he's going to pick up a first down and more, but there's flags back near the line of scrimmage, and based on the way those were thrown, it's probably going to be holding against the Gators, and it's going to cost them 10 yards from the spot. So it'll be 2nd down and about 10 after the penalty.
Self-inflicted wounds. It felt like the Gators have started to accumulate a few more of those as the night has gone on, and if you're head coach John Hall, you got to keep your team locked in here. There's still 7.5 minutes left. The game, for all intents and purposes, might be over, but got to button things up, take care of business. It's a bad look. All of these penalties and defensive lapses coming down the stretch. You really want to end the night on a high note. You've done so much right. You've done so much well. Finish this game on a high note. Take the air out of the ball. Try to move it. Get out of here with a big win. Move on to next week.
So Gans had gotten past the line to gain before the flag was thrown, so it ends up being 2nd down and 9 here as Gans tries to bounce it to the left-hand side, and he is brought down in the backfield.
Nothing going there. Sorry, Adam. It just see there, not a whole lot of push from the Gators offensive line. So Gans had to try and break that one out wide, and he's certainly got some wheels. We saw it on the last play that got called back, but that's not really his bread and butter, is outrunning everyone. And so there, good angles by the defensive unit for Kiski Area, and able to bring up 3rd and long and a chance to try and get the ball back here with only about a minute and a half off the clock since they scored.
Sid Bryant parking out signals on 3rd and a dozen with the clock winding towards 6 minutes to play. Sid to the air, and the pass too tall for S.J. Moorfield as there's a collision there, and Sid got hit hard in the process as well.
Now the clock stops with 6.5 minutes left, and the Cavaliers get the ball again. Only problem for the Cavaliers is a lot of that last drive was built on the foundation of the run game. They've only had that one big pass play earlier in the second half to Avon Shirley on that first drive out of the break. It's going to be interesting to see. Are the Gators going to go for it here? They're going to pooch punt again. Going to pooch it.
That one goes into the Gators bench, and it won't be for much positive yardage. Maybe a 10-yard punt for Sid Bryant after his last pooch punt was brilliant.
I've seen a lot of those in our time covering the Gators between Brad Birch and now Sid Bryant, but that one not one of the more memorable ones, and it's going to give decent field position for the Cavaliers. They try and, for them, really cobble together whatever momentum they can to end this game on a high note, heading into a tough stretch of conference games. Again, they want to try to make a name for themselves here their first year in the Big East.
To the ground go the Cavaliers as a helmet comes off again. And this is Kane and Bandy, or excuse me, Roberson Louis June, who lost his lid.
Woodland Hills opening it up against Penn Trafford, 28-7 lead. Mirrored score to what we have here, so it looks like the Gators and Wolverines on course to go 1-0 in the Big East, while the Cavaliers and the Warriors might look like they're going to drop to 0-1. We finally have some points as well at Franklin Regional Latrobe. Panthers lead the Wildcats 3-0.
Ball comes loose out of the hands of the Kiski QB, Carson Heinley, as he came to the near sideline. He was tripping down to the turf, and the ball just squirted out of his hands, and it is scooped up by Casey Carter, and a big error there by the QB for the Cavaliers gives the ball back to Gateway.
Boy, it's just been that kind of night, right? And that ball held up just enough for Carter to be able to scoop it and fall out of bounds. Heinley couldn't believe what he saw. He sat there for a good 10 seconds, sort of in disbelief. Did a great job extending that play. Strong stiff arm. Looked like he had some green in front of him, but just lost his balance and then lost the ball.
Gator, an ankle tackle there, but the ball squirted out. And Casey Carter was able to race over and get it before it crossed the boundary. So the ball goes back to the Gators with an opportunity to kill some more clock as Amari Gans tries to bounce it to the left to no avail. Drives his way to the line of scrimmage no further.
Well, if the scores hold, it could be a matchup of two 1-0 teams next week. And boy, nice to catch Franklin Regional at home for a change. It's been a number of years.
I think it was 2 seasons ago there was a home game between the Gators and the Panthers. And Vince, I don't think I've called a game between Gateway and Franklin Regional since we've started covering Gateway football back in 2020, and that will be the case again this upcoming Friday night.
Yeah, normally it would be Spencer Witt and myself. That's been the MO, but we're going to have to really go into the bullpen. We got some unavailability this next week.
And our number one guy out of the bullpen, Bob Orquist, is not available. And that's because he's sitting a few seats down here in the press box. He's part of the Kiski football broadcasts. So he covers Kiski football both home and away, just like we do for Gateway. So he's not available, and he is one of our number one replacements when you or Spencer and myself are not available. So we'll see how it goes. Next week, hopefully we will have some sort of broadcasters for you as we look forward to our upcoming broadcast here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. Couple of games next week. We've got soccer and volleyball on Monday and Thursday prior to the football game against Franklin Regional on Friday. To the ground to Gans. Gans gets to the line of scrimmage before being pulled back. Braden Anderson on the tackle.
Now Kiski's gain is our loss with Bob Orquist to put a bow on that, that's for sure. Fun to be able to run into him tonight, just as Gator's been running into a bit of a tough sled here. Not able to move this ball when you really want to the most to try and drain the rest of this clock and get out of here with a win. It really feels, Adam, like this fourth quarter has come to a real halt. Much to the chagrin of the Gators and their faithful, I'm sure.
Again, don't forget, tune in next Friday night. Gateway at home against the Franklin Regional Panthers. Still efforting, trying to get play-by-play and color analyst for that game. Hopefully we'll get some help from our friends at the Trib Live High School Sports Network, as they have efforted to help us out next Friday night. Of course, they are part of the Gateway football broadcast family, as links to our broadcasts are available all season long on the Trib Live High School Sports Network, and not just football games, but all of our broadcasts, including here in the fall with girls volleyball and boys and girls soccer, and boys and girls basketball, wrestling and swimming and diving coming up in the wintertime. Then transition to the spring, we'll have some boys volleyball and some boys lacrosse as well. As it's 3rd and 10. Sid Bryant off of play action, tosses to the left-hand side, and the ball was caught by the Gators, Tyree Gowder, and Gowder lost the ball, quite frankly. It ended up in the hands of Roberson Louise June, and he rumbles down the far sideline, picks up a Gateway first down. It'll be 1st and 10 right at the red zone at the 20.
We have never seen him run like that. Probably because he hasn't had to, but boy, some wheels on big number 55. That was incredible. Hopefully we get another look at that over, of course, the next couple stoppages, because that was
1st and 10, Gateway.
not something you're going to see all that often. Now the Gators wisely using that play clock to their advantage. They still got 26 ticks. I'm surprised even.
Kiski breaches the neutral zone as S.J. Moorfield went in motion. That'll push the ball back forward 5 yards rather, and that'll bring up 1st and 5.
Cavaliers.
And the clock will wind once the ball is set. And Vince, this is a circumstance where Gateway needs to not get on the ball with 35 seconds to go on the play clock.
They're going to snap it here again before it even hits 25. And why, I just don't know.
Hand off Amari Gans. Dives his way forward, back to the line of scrimmage.
And what are you going up tempo for, up 21 points with 4 minutes left? I don't know.
I mean, I know that their plan is no huddle. But go no huddle and snap the ball with 5 seconds to go on the play clock. Not 25 seconds to go on the play clock. Gateway now shuttling the play in from the sideline with signals. Much more play clock used this time. Bryant takes the snap, hands off. Gans going left, cutting back right. Driving his way forward for a gain of a couple before being driven back.
I mean, it doesn't much matter if you wind it all the way down to a couple seconds and you know when they're going to snap it if you're really afraid of them jumping the count. I mean, they know you're going to run the ball. And the yards are really, you want to pick up enough to try and move the chains, but at this point with under 3 minutes to play deep in opponent territory, even if you turn it over on downs, you're up 21 points, they got to go 88 yards.
3rd and 3 as S.J. Moorfield races out of the set. Sid Bryant runs left, lowers the shoulders, drives his way towards the line to gain, and based on the official on the far side, I think he's close but not enough, and that'll be 4th down.
Bryant for the Gators this time.
So it will be 4th and 1.
Well, you can take this down to
Short for the Gators.
about 100 seconds left, and if you convert, that's pretty much it. And if not, no real harm done. You give the ball back with about 90 seconds left to Kiski with 3 scores to make up and about 90 yards of ground to cover.
It looks like Don Hall is going to be happy to take this clock all the way down to 1 second and take a timeout, and that's exactly what he will do. Now, I'll grant you that Gateway has quarterback Sid Bryant out there, who is 6'3", 205 pounds, and you know, in normal circumstances, you line him up under center and see what you can do, driving your way forward for a gain of 1. But Gateway doesn't go under center very much. In fact, last week, Gateway only went under center 1 play, and that was on a kneel down to end the first half. And when they were going for kneel downs at the end of the second half, if you missed the game, the first play, it was a shotgun snap. Sid took a knee, and Plum called a timeout. On the ensuing play, it was a fumbled shotgun snap by Sid. He covered it up, and that was the last play of the game. But, you know, Plum had an opportunity there with about 40 seconds to go. If they recover that fumble, they have the ball near midfield and a chance to win it.
Would have been an absolute disaster in a game that the Gators had their highs and lows in, but ultimately were able to come away with a really big confidence-boosting win. Certainly this one feels pretty well in the bag at this point, but you certainly want to take good care of the ball and button it up, and if you're able to gain a yard here, you can just sort of take that knee out of the gun and call it a night.
So it's 4th down and 1 here. The Gators are in the shotgun. Sid Bryant with Amari Gans to his left. Handoff, Gans trying to bounce it left. The Cavaliers are in the backfield and will bring him down, forcing the turnover on downs. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the Cavaliers. 86 yards from pay dirt, and the touchdown would only cut the deficit to as little as 13 and to as much as 15, depending on how the PATs would go. So with 97 seconds to go here, Cavaliers offense is back out there. Just an opportunity to see more of their running game with Cusick, who has been looking pretty good here in the second half, but instead they will go to the air, will the Cavaliers, as the pass is completed to Connor Jordan, and Jordan is brought down in the field of play after a gain of just 5.
For the Gators, you'll take that every down at this point in the game. Can't get out of bounds, didn't do enough to move the chain, so that clock will just continue to roll.
Jackson Smith on the tackle, the sophomore who emerged as a freshman at that linebacker spot a season ago. Lots of time here for Hindley as the flag comes down. This is in all likelihood going to be holding against the Cavaliers as a tackle is made. A nice open field stop there for Amari Gans. The clock stops as the officials will iron out this holding penalty. Taking a look at this one, you can see Roberson Louise June trying to escape the blocker there, and the jersey was being grabbed. It certainly didn't look like a whole heck of a lot to me. As an old offensive lineman, I thought that was as clean as you can basically have it in that type of circumstance.
Seen a good bit of whistles tonight. That's for sure. It is definitely, and it seems to have only exacerbated as the game has gone along.
And now we've got some more whistles. And I believe they're saying please set the game clock to 58 seconds from what I was able to read from the officials' lips. And we're going to come over here, talk to the Kiski coaches. We're going to talk to the Kiski coaches in the next room next to us. Whole game of telephone, some relay from coach to the game clock operator.
How'd that work before the headsets?
A lot of hand signals.
Yeah.
Of course, they had telephones for years between the sideline and the booth. I mean, you go back 60 plus years, there were telephones, direct line phones from the booth down to the field, wired phones at that. But Cusick will take it to the ground, drive his way forward for a gain of a few. And the clock winds down to 40 seconds to play here. And the Gateway Gators are going to get their second win of the season, second in a row, and more importantly, their first win in conference play.
Yeah, these are the ones that matter, right? These are the ones that count towards that conference crown. I mean, they all do with there being some subjectivity in a committee choosing the wild card teams in the postseason. But if you're the Gators, you're hoping to avoid that being something you got to lean on when it comes time for the postseason selection.
Cusick, the ball carrier, brought down after a decent gain there in the open field as the clock will wind down under 5 seconds to go, and that will be the final play of the football game. And the Gateway Gators are victorious 28-7 over the Kiski Area Cavaliers. Kiski sees their record fall to 1-3 on the season, while Gateway is now 2-2, and more importantly, Gateway's 1-0 in the Big East, while the Cavaliers fall to 0-1.
Yeah, they stay in lockstep with some of the teams that we thought we'd see win. Woodland Hills looking like they'll move to 1-0. Franklin Regional was on the doorstep of that with a big field goal against Latrobe. That game not final yet, but we'll see what that looks like. But all these games are going to be important. There's a lot of parity in the conference and a number of teams that could emerge. And so for the Gators to start out on the right side of one that a lot of people thought that they would take care of business, it's a big win. And on the other side, a rude awakening for Kiski in their first Big East contest. It's one thing to believe in yourself and talk the talk, but you got to come out and walk the walk. And I think Kiski got a rude awakening as to what the rest of the season might look like against some stout competition here at 5A.
Next week, Gateway takes on the Franklin Regional Panthers, who are on their way to knocking off the Latrobe Wildcats, who were undefeated coming into this Week 3 matchup. They were 3-0 after wins in Week 0, 1, and 2 in non-conference play. But first game in Big East Conference play for the Wildcats, and Franklin Regional defeats Greater Latrobe by the narrowest of margins, 3-0.
3 yards and maybe a cloud of dust. not a real barn burner to be watched out that way, but Franklin Regional, Woodland Hills, and the Gators all on the right side of the coin the first week, and that's the company you want to be in, and it's the top 3 teams that are going to move on to the postseason. So for the Gators to take that first step towards getting there, it's important. Everyone counts, and this one just a little bit more.
Well, that'll do it for our coverage here today at Kiski Area High School as the Gateway Gators defeat the Kiski Cavaliers by a final score of 28-7. I want to thank our entire crew for making the trip up here, up Route 28, to cover today's game and making today's broadcast possible. And I want to thank my broadcast partner, Vince Russo, for joining us today. And we will be bringing you next week's game from Pete Antamarino Stadium. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. right here on GatewayGatorProductions.com. The Gators with the victory, now 1-0 in league play.